So conducting a rebranding of a company which is just performing quite well is a rather complex task, and it might feel like a handbrake turn at full speed. And this is exactly what the fast-growing French ride-sharing platform Blablacar did last year with their rebranding, and they finished it in January. Being founded in 2006, they did some iterations on their branding, but the last real rebranding then happened 4 years ago, when the company was way smaller than it is today. Blablacar now has 60 million users and conducts and handles 18 million rides per quarter. And Laura Veuillez, who's standing there, marketing manager of Blablacar in France, she was also the project lead for this rebranding campaign, and she now guides us through her learning on how to rebrand at keeping the full performance. Please give it up for Laura. Bonjour.
Thank you. Hi everyone. So I will try to share with you today how we rebranded while maintaining the performance we had in our marketing campaigns. So in order to do this, I will first give you a bit of context on our rebranding. Then I will come back on the project we worked on as a marketing team to maintain the performance. And most importantly, I will try to share with you the learning and processes we got from this process in order for you to maybe use them in your daily activity. So first, context on our rebranding. So a little sanity check. Who knows Blablacar here? Okay. So what we do is that we connect drivers with empty seats to passengers going the same way for long-distance trip so that they can share the cost of the journey. In order to promote this service, our marketing was very focused on two things. The first one was education. As it was rather new at that time, we needed people to understand what to do in order to lower the barriers. The second element was savings and pricing, because this was the trigger for users to try our app. Even in TV, actually, our ads was super focused on those two pillars, and it was only a demo of the product and putting the savings as our main USP. These two elements helped us convince 60 million members to ride share. And at the end of 2017, millions of trips were shared each month. Reaching this scale, we started taking a step back in order to understand what was at the core of what we do and what we really bring to user, what is really our role into this. And this is how came the new Blablacar that you might know today. And the one element that is key for this new brand is human connections. So we work on human connections with two dimensions. The first one is social. So when we rebranded, we conducted a survey with our members, our founders, and the employees. And we really realized that for our members, there was a lot of social interaction through the use of Blablacar. First, 80% of our members use Blablacar to see their loved ones, and a portion of them sees them more often thanks to our product. And the second element is that our members are exposed to more diversity in the Blablacar trips than in their real lives, which leads to enriching exchanges within the car. And the second element is travel. So we realized that city-to-city travelers don't necessarily live in the city center, and someone who is doing a Paris-Lyon might actually be doing every Chalon-sur-Saône or go from a smaller city to another smaller city. So by putting millions of members together, we think that we can bring the liquidity of a Paris-Lyon to the small cities along the road for everyone to have access to better transportation. All of this to say that what we do is unlocking human connections, and this is why our new brand is about an open world of travel, about human connections, and about convenience. Now I will come back to our role as a marketing team. So our objective with this project was to transition our marketing templates, but keeping the same level of performance. So what we had to do was to go from the templates we had at that time on the left and to roll out the new templates that are on the right. The new templates had to be more about convenience and about the human touch, and not only about education and savings. What was hard about it is that the templates you see on the left was the top performers. We had found after years and years of iterations. And now we had to keep the same level of performance by changing almost everything into these templates. So from this journey, I will try to share with you the processes and learnings we got along the way that maybe can help you. First one, better together. What we started by doing is building a cross-functional team, and this had two advantages. The first one is that we were able to iterate very quickly. We had quick feedback loops, we could make decisions on our own, and we were not dependent on anyone else in the company. So this was really we were faster to execute. And the second element is that by being all of us as a task force, we had the same objective, and everybody was here from the strategy definition to the results analysis. This enabled us to avoid the typical situation where you have the designer who wants to do something super branding and the marketer who wants to do something super pushy, because we all had actually the same goal here. Second element is to narrow the initial scope. So we know that the learnings we have in a country will not necessarily work in another one, and from a channel to another, things can change. But if we want to test everything, we just arrive in an impossible situation. And actually, it's really inefficient because we just keep spending money testing the same thing again and again. So we had a quite radical approach here, and what we did is that each template would only be tested in one country and on one channel. Then we would iterate, having a B, C, D, E, F version, until we really crack this template. And only then we will try to apply it to other channels and other countries. Why did we go with Facebook? Two reasons. First one is that you need to have less creative sizes to do one test, so it was quicker to create. And we also had quicker learnings with Facebook. And why didn't we narrow to 3 countries? We just decided to go with the ones who had the biggest Facebook envelope in order to lower the impact of our testing on the general business results. 3, this one is really linked to the fact of having a rebranding. So what happened is that our rebranding was overnight. So we had been working on it for weeks and months, but on the 30th of January, we really changed everything in our product and marketing assets overnight. So we basically had to go from there to there. However, we had never tested our new templates, and we had no idea if they would perform or not at all. So it was a really risky move to go from our old templates to the new ones. So what we did is that we improved a bit and the old templates, and we tried to make them look a bit more like our new brand. And this had 3 actually advantages. The first one is that we were taking a lower risk on the day of the rebrand. The second one is that it gave us more time actually to iterate on the new templates, because we were not in a rush where we have a really bad situation where nothing works anymore. And finally, we were able to have a real baseline to understand if the new templates we have are actually really performing as well as the ones we had before. Element number 4, get out of your comfort zone. So if we take the Blablacar case, our typical ad was like this. So it was a static template. The imagery was super linked to Blablacar, so you had 3 options. Either you were in a car, either you were with a map, or either you had our mascots, the little things we have on TV. When we started thinking about what we wanted to do with this rebranding, we really wanted to be more engaging, more conversational, and we wanted to do something that is more like this. On the paper, this was going against all the learnings we had before from our previous iterations, so it didn't have a lot of chances to succeed. So when we implemented this template, we still had to do some iterations on it, and in the end, the static version still performs better than the GIF. But by going against all the learnings and the rules we had created for ourselves, it really helped us to initiate a real change in what we were doing as our marketing imaging, and to move away from it without doing only a baby step. Number 5, look for signals. During the process, we had a lot of micro decisions to make. For example, here, we were wondering, like, should we say, drive there for less, or save 45 € per trip? So do you have an idea? Number 1, number 2? Number 2, yeah, exactly. So as a marketing team, we were quite convinced this was more efficient, because someone who has never used a service needs to understand how much they can save, what it's going to bring them. and we were really convinced about it. So we still tested it, but for this kind of small decisions, the rule was, if you have a strong assumption and the signal goes in the same direction, by signal we mean micro-conversion at the beginning of the funnel, so it can be either CTR or sign-up, we can stop the test and move forward. By doing this, we reduced the time and budget needed for this kind of micro-decision by 5, and although we have maybe, probably actually, a few wrong decisions into this batch of iterations, actually the time we've been winning by doing this is much more valuable, and we will still keep iterating in the long run on these templates, so it's still okay for us. So in order to conclude, these are the 5 learnings we've got through this process. And now, as Blablacar, we implemented this as a running project in our teams so that we can really have a task force that keeps iterating on all our templates on a running basis. That's it.
Merci beaucoup. Any questions from your side? We have a question over here again.
Fantastic. So what I understood was that you did a lot of learnings and just completely changed the branding anyway.
Sorry, we get?
You did a lot of testing with the templates and then completely rebranded irrespective of that anyway. Is this what I understood?
No, sorry. So when we were testing a lot of iterations on the templates, we would only scale them once they reached the same level of performance than we had before. So this was our threshold, and we needed to go there before really rolling out the new templates.
Got it, understood. And then, fantastic, understood. And the second point, so what I was getting to was that why would you do the rebranding for all the countries at the same time? Why not do it in just one country? And
so we are a global brand, and we want our users to be able to use us everywhere in the same context. So it was important for us to roll out everything at the same time. We are a travel brand, so people are more international among our users. So for us, it was quite important that we, Blablacar, we have the same name in all the countries we operate in. We want it to be the same brand everywhere. And actually, the human connections really apply to all of our countries, so it still makes sense.
got it, understand, thanks.
One question from my side. Did you only do the testing regarding the formats, or did you also did the testing regarding the colors, for example, or the typography?
Yeah, we did a lot of, so we changed, for the iterations, we were playing on the formats, on the colors, on the turn of the sentence, the background image. We really tested, tried to improve with every little iterations we could do. So everything was possible as iterations of each template. When we were trying the template for the first time, if the performance was not as good as the previous ones, which was always the case, we would have a series of things we could play with.
So the whole CI is also tested, and the color code that you now picked is tested, and you made the decisions then based on the data?
No, so the new colors were part of the new brand, so we had no choice, but between this kind of color and, for example, the purple here, we could try to choose, and also between the different images we had, we could try to...
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.